service, and had this all with writing the sports radio service.com. I'll write that down so you can read our blogs every day. We're on the net every day. I started with lead sports radio service about 7-8 years ago. I helped lead when I was on the medical staff, working athletics staff, and in the 90s. I joined the Oakland A's in 1993, was with them for several years. After retirement, I did a TV show in Alameda, public access, and I did that for several years. And then that morphed into the sports radio service. I covered the A's, I covered the Giants, I covered football, basketball, and right now I'm covering the Golden State Warriors. I also do Sharks on. So, and we did podcasts. We did a podcast at Angie's Restaurant in Zen about 10-12 days ago. And we're putting on our show from San Francisco. So
Little loud, Jerry.
Louder. We're going to talk about the Warriors. The Warriors were a franchise that was established in 1946 in what was then known as the Basketball Association of America. Now it's known as the NBA. And they won, and in their years, 71 or 72 years of existence, they've won 4 championships. They won it in 1948 with Paul Harrison. They won it in 1956 with Tom Gola. They won it in 1975 with Rick Barry. And they won it in the 2014-2015 with the current team led by Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and the rest of the cast of characters that we're discussing in this. The Warriors, under the leadership of Steve Kerr, have won in the last 3 years 203 games. If they win tonight, they'll set an NBA record for most wins in a 3-year span. They're right to celebrate the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan. This team is absolutely phenomenal. When you watch them, they move the ball, they shoot the ball, they run, they rebound. They're not only good offensively, they're good defensively. Last year they set a record with 73 wins and 9 losses. This year they won 63 and lost 14 as of the moment. They have 5 games left in the season. Playing tonight, they're playing the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. They lost to them on March 10th, 103-102, and they want to avenge that loss tonight. Their magic number for clinching the best record in the NBA for the 3rd year in a row is 3. Any combination of 3 Warrior wins or San Antonio Spurs losses will give them a championship, and that will give them home court advantage throughout the playoffs. And the Warriors don't lose at home. They are very good at home. They lose occasionally, but most of the time they win. Now, how did this franchise get built? How did this all happen? For all your fans, you have to go back to them. They didn't win a championship for 40 years. 40 long years. And in that time, they weren't very good. They had periods of time when they had Chris Mullin and Mitch Richmond and Tim Hardaway, and they were okay. They were coached by Don Nelson. They were sort of okay. Then they were coached by George Karl, and they had Chris Webber, and players didn't want to play for the Warriors. They really didn't. They had draft choices. They had horrible draft choices. They just couldn't do anything. They were lucky to win 25, 30 games a year, and they missed the playoffs year after year after year. And about 6 years ago, they got a new ownership group led by Joe Lacob and Peter Guber. And they also have minority investors too. But Lacob was the principal owner. And the management team set a goal. Their goal was to win a championship. And everybody laughed. they put up $450 million and they said, we're going to win a championship. And everybody laughed and said, hey, this is the Warriors. They don't win championships. They don't even make the playoffs. But they decided they were going to hire competent people. They hired Rick Welch to be the team president, take care of the financials. They hired Bob Myers, who was a sports agent. And Myers became the general manager and was in charge of drafting. Now they didn't draft Steph Curry. He was drafted by the previous general manager. But they did draft, they did make some wonderful draft choices. And one of the most wonderful draft choices they ever made was Draymond Green. And Draymond wasn't a first-round draft choice. He was a second-round draft choice. He went 32nd in the draft. And second-round draft choices very rarely ever become stars in the National Basketball Association. He was passed over by 30 teams plus one or two picks before they got him. And if you remember, Draymond sat on the bench for a year or two. David Lee was ahead of him. And when Lee was hurt in the 2014 season, 2014-2015 season, Draymond took over and see what he can do. We'll talk a little bit about Draymond a little later. So with this in mind, they put together an organization, and they had Mark Jackson as the coach. And they had two successful seasons, but they decided that Jackson wasn't the right man to take them to the promised land, which was the championship. So they fired him, and they hired Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr as the coach. Steve has this wonderful pedigree. Steve went to the University of Arizona, was coached by Lute Olson, who was at Arizona for many, many years. And Steve went to Chicago, played for the Chicago Bulls under Phil Jackson. And Phil Jackson won several titles with the Bulls. And Steve got 3 World Championship rings with the Chicago Bulls. And then he went to the San Antonio Spurs, coached by Greg Popovich. And Steve won 2 more championships with the Spurs. Now Steve also became general manager. He was general manager of the Phoenix Suns. And one of the coach he hired is Mike D'Antoni, who is now the head coach of the Houston Rockets and playing basketball. Though that team plays basketball like the Warriors do, but their defense is not as good. They can shoot, but they can't protect. So we have all this confluence of all these changes coming together. We have new owners, we have a new coach, new general manager, and now we have a new team. And they put together a team in 2014, 2015 that won their first championship in 40 years. And who were the ringleaders? Who were the key players? The key players, as you know, Steph Curry, I'll talk about Steph, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, they had Andrew Bogut, they had Harrison Barnes, and they had Andre Iguodala. And what they did with Andre was the starter with Philadelphia, Denver, wherever he played in the NBA before he got to Golden State. Steve Kerr said, I want you to come off the bench and lead the second unit. And Andre had to swallow his pride. He said, I'll do whatever it takes to win a championship. And he accepted the role. And also on that second unit, they had Leandro Barbosa, Festus Ezeli, they had Mo Spates, Sean Livingston. So and all these, Livingston was a reclamation project. He suffered a severe knee injury, and they never thought he'd play. But he came on board, and he's performed well in the 3 years he's been with the Warriors. So we know that in 2014, in 2015, the Warriors faced the Cleveland Cavaliers in the finals, and they had a deal with LeBron James, Kevin Love. The point guard for the Cavaliers was injured, and so some people said, well, the Warriors won because the Cavaliers were injured, and that type of thing. You know, but the Warriors earned it, and they had this. They won their championship. 2015, 2016, best record in all of basketball ever. And then we have a three-game to 1 lead over the Cavaliers, and Steph got hurt. Draymond Green got suspended for game 5. Bogut gets hurt for game 6 and 7, and we fall short of the second championship by 6 points. Now the Warriors say, what do we have to do? What are we going to do to get back to the championship level? What can we do? Who is the best free agent out there? And the best free agent out there was Kevin Durant. And they made a concerted effort. Draymond, Clay, and Steph all met with Kevin Durant, and they convinced him that the best place that KD could come would be to win a championship, would be Golden State. And they shocked the world by signing him. Now, what did that create? That created problems with the salary cap. They offered KD $27 million a year. It's a lot of money, folks. For 2 years, got a 2-year deal. And he can opt out at the end of the year. I don't think he will, but you never know. But what that meant is that they couldn't keep Bogut, they couldn't keep Azili, they couldn't keep Barbosa, they couldn't keep Space, and they couldn't keep Harrison Barnes. So they're all gone. So they had a real problem. How were they going to rebuild the bench? They had to integrate this with the new player, Kevin Durant. So they went out and they made a trade for Zaza Pachulia, 14-year veteran from Georgia in Russia. And Azili went to Portland. He was gone. Bogut went to Dallas, and then Dallas sent him to Philadelphia. Philadelphia let him go. Cavaliers signed him, and 30 seconds as a Cavalier breaks his leg. Very unfortunate, but that's his history. So they got the big rap is that they didn't have rim protection. They didn't have anyone to go up and block the rim. These teams could just drive on the Warriors and they couldn't stop. So what did they do? They got Zaza Pachulia, and Zaza's played very well. He doesn't play a lot of minutes. He plays maybe 18 to 20 minutes a game, but he's well positioned. He knows how to play the center position. And they signed David West, who is a San Antonio Spur. West is 36 years old at the tail end of his career. West had offers for more money, but he decided he was going to sign with the Warriors because he too wanted to win a championship. And the third player that they got was to play center, was JaVale McGee. McGee didn't play very much the last 2 seasons, and when he did play before that, he bounced around from several teams. They thought of him as a clown, as a guy who would forget his assignments, not know what to do. And the Warriors said, fine, and they worked with him. The Warriors have a defensive coach by the name of Ron Adams, who worked with JaVale, and when JaVale goes in, he becomes instant offense. He comes in and they have a log pass that they do. They get him, and he's good now. In his last few games, he's played 11, 12 minutes a game, and he's scoring 11 to 13 points a game, 10, 11 points. And he's rebounding and doing what's necessary to help the Warriors win. So the Warriors were doing great with Kevin Durant. Of course, we all know about Steph Curry. We know his story. Steph Curry, the most valuable player in the league for the last 2 years. They had Kevin Durant. They had to bring him in. Did that mean that Steph was going to take less shots? Curry was going to take less shots? There's only so many shots in the game, and you got to share the ball. But Durant we all knew he was a great offensive threat. But what we didn't know about Durant was how good a defensive player he is. He's about 6'10", he has long arms. And goes with Iguodala, who has long arms. Draymond Green, who has long arms. And these guys on defense are absolutely magnificent. So anyway, so we have Durant, and so Steph and Clay and Draymond and the rest of the team. The real neat thing about the Warriors is they don't have egos. They like each other. They like to play together. They love winning. And they will do what's necessary to win. So it doesn't matter if Steph scores 20 points, 30 points, if Durant scores 30, 40, whatever it is. They're only interested in winning. And they're all very well connected right now. The players do very, very well. Their goal is to win the championship. Klay Thompson signed with the Warriors, the draft choice of the Warriors a year after Steph came on board. And Klay Thompson and Steph make up the best backcourt duo in the NBA. There's nobody like them. There are other backcourts that are good. Up in Portland, you get Damon Lillard, and you got C.J. McCollum. In Washington, you get Bradley Beal and John Wall. They're all potent offenses. James Harden in Houston, Russell Westbrook in Oklahoma City. So you have players that are good, but nobody can match the Warriors, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So we talked about the reserve cash, the reserves that they have. The Andre Iguodala, the veterans, has done phenomenally well for them.
Somebody ordered one from the bar, please transfer one.
Sean Livingston is playing very, very well. And then they got some support from Ian Clark off the bench and Patrick McCaw, the rookie from UNLV. He looks like he's about 16 years old, but he's 6'7", also has long arms and can play defense. So now, let's talk about Kevin Durant's injury. On February 28th in Washington, I don't know if anyone saw the game. The big Russian guy, I think he's Russian, Marcin Gortat, pushes Pachulia, and Pachulia hits Kevin Durant on his left knee, and Durant is seen hobbling off the court. Durant thought he had broken his leg, but they told him it wasn't that bad. It would be 4 to 6 weeks, and he breathed a sigh of relief. The Warriors breathed a sigh of relief. And I'm pleased to tell you that Durant will be back Saturday night. He will play the last 3 games of the season. Get some minutes in before the playoffs. Now, KD, as we said, was the #1 draft choice many years ago out of the University of Texas. He was a star with Oklahoma City. But the Warriors came back and eliminated the Thunder in 7 games. The Warriors were down 3-1 and came back. And they're doing the same thing. They're playing very, very well. When Durant got hurt, the Warriors lost 4 or 5 games on the trip. They had that brutal 8-game stretch in 13 days. And they traveled 13,000 miles. They were flying cross country. They played the Celtics here. They lost. They flew to Minnesota. They lost. Then they finished that game in Minnesota, and they flew to San Antonio, got in trouble at 3 or 4 in the morning, and they had to play San Antonio that night. And that was the night that Kerr rested Steph, rested Draymond, rested Andre, rested Clay, and they lost. And then their first game after that was Philadelphia. And they were losing to the lowly Philadelphia 76ers going into the 4th quarter. They were down by 12 points. And Draymond Green took the team on his shoulders and said, "We're not going to lose. We are not going to lose this game." And with his defense and his offense, he willed that team to victory. And they beat the 76ers that night. That was the first of the 11 games that they won in a row. And they've gotten better, and they've grown out. They had a 5-game stretch where they played 5 playoff teams. They blew out the Rockets. They beat the Spurs. They handled the Spurs easily. And they beat the Rockets again. And hopefully they will beat the Timberwolves tonight. So, with that, I'll end it and open up for any questions.
Coincidentally, you know that the Lions Club and the Warriors share the same colors.
Same color.
You gotta associate with the winners. Thank you so much, Jerry. Dave, Daisy, did you have anything you wanted to quickly talk about? Or you okay?
Just go to the
I'll
website,
just leave it all to
sportsradioservice.com.
He's a sports expert.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Jerry. We have some really nice speakers tonight. I think